And I learned after I figured out that I had dyslexia, what it was, I learned that I had to take my time. So when I read a novel, and I still do this, I can read technical data very easily. But if I'm reading a story, if it's a new book, a story I have not heard, I read the novel first to make sure I know what I'm doing. Second time for fluidity, and the third time for the enjoyment and the story. And so the third time I can put it into a movie. The first two times I'm struggling a little bit. I'm thinking too hard.
Join the Discovering Your Mind Facebook group and enjoy discussions, ask questions, and participate in the podcast in fun and unique ways. Aphantasia is a condition characterized by an inability to visualize mental images in one's mind. If you have just discovered that you or someone you love has aphantasia, or if you're just fascinated by the subject in general and love learning more about it, you are in the right place. The Discovering Your Mind podcast delves into all aspects of the mind's eye, including aphantasia, hyperphantasia, and everything in between. Content warning. This episode contains a brief conversation about true crime, violent actions, fictional violence against children, and other descriptions of a graphic nature and violent imagery. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Discovering Your Mind podcast, brought to you by shanesbraindomain.com. I am your host, Shane Williams, also known as Shane's Brain. And today I am joined by my co-host, Cole Williams. Say hi, Cole.
What's up? I'm here. Hi.
And today we are talking with the one and only Kary Jensen,
Hey.
who is my brother-in-law and an overall fantastic fella.
Yeah, you just have to say that.
We don't have to say anything. It's our show.
That's true.
And you're ugly. All right. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what you do for a living?
So I am general manager for Utah Iron. It's a large iron mine outside of Cedar City, Utah. We process about 1.7 million tons of iron ore concentrate annually.
I'm assuming that's a big number.
Well, it's got a lot of zeros.
It's got a lot of zeros.
We're not the largest iron mine in North America, but we're the largest iron mine in the Western United States.
Very cool.
Awesome.
All right. What about hobbies? What do you like to do for fun?
So Donna and I, my wife Donna, we love to fish. We've got a boat that we keep on Strawberry Reservoir in northern Utah, and it's a boat that we're comfortable enough to sleep on. We just spend the whole weekend up there, sleep on the boat, eat on the boat, have some good friends up there that we've made over the years. And that's what we do in the summertime, wintertime. We watch a lot of sports, football, things like that. That's really about it. Eat. We like to eat.
All right. What's your favorite food?
I probably lean towards Italian food, Italian cuisine. I like to cook, and some of my favorite food to cook is Italian. Donna's favorite food that I cook is beef Wellington.
When I was a kid, I thought beef Wellington was a name. Don't laugh at me. I was a child.
In this episode, we will be referring to what we call the apple graph. If you would like to view the apple graph to play along and better understand what we're talking about, you can find it on shanesbraindomain.com in the Aphantasia and Beyond section. If you are unable to view the apple graph for whatever reason, it is a graph divided into 6 sections. In the number 6 section, there is a very detailed image of a red apple. In the number 5 section, it is the same image but with less detail. Number 4 is still in color but has less detail and more basic shapes instead of detailed hues and gradients. Number 3 is the less detailed apple but in gray tones without the color. Number 2 is a simple outline of the apple. And number 1 is blank, indicating no visualization whatsoever. This is called aphantasia.
I want you to imagine a red apple in your mind.
Okay.
Now we're going to show you this apple graph. And I want you to tell us which number best represents what you saw in your mind's eye.
Number 6.
Number 6. So have you heard of aphantasia before? What's your experience learning about this?
I've heard about it. I've talked to Shane about it, and I've listened to a few episodes of your podcast. It's very interesting. It's hard for me to wrap my head around not being able to see that red apple.
And I have the same thing. I don't quite understand how it happens, but I've come to accept the fact that it does. And that's kind of where we are, is a big learning experience for all of us, trying to figure out how other people think the way we don't.
All right, next we'd like you to imagine a horse in your mind.
Okay.
Is it like looking at a picture or more of just a thought or something else?
It's like looking at a horse in the field. We have horses out here at the mine, wild horses that run around all the time, and I can picture them out in the field right now, just grazing in the sagebrush and the juniper trees.
So it's more than looking at a picture. It's like looking at it like real life.
Yes.
From what you described, it sounds like there's definitely movement in the image. There's a background. I'm assuming it's in color.
Yep.
Are the colors vibrant or muted?
They're just like I would see if I were standing out there looking at them.
Is the image more clear with your eyes closed or your eyes open?
Doesn't really matter.
Do you see the horse in your mind, or is it projected out in front of you?
I kind of do both. I can see it in my mind, or I can envision it standing in front of me. I mean,
okay.
I can picture it standing in my office right now.
Okay. Can you do that whether your eyes are closed or open?
Yeah, it's a little harder with my eyes open, but I can still do it. It comes and goes with my eyes open.
Okay.
Just probably because of distractions more than anything.
Okay. Is the image solid or transparent?
The projection of the image is transparent. In my mind, it's solid.
Is it 2D or 3D?
It's 3D.
Can you rotate it and see it from all angles?
Yeah.
Can you put a birthday hat on the horse?
Yeah. Kind of looks funny, but yeah.
Can you throw a birthday party for the horse?
If I knew its birthday, I suppose I could. I don't know if I get birthday hats on that many horses. I don't know if I can get them to stand still long enough.
Would pin the tail on the donkey be an insensitive party game for the horse?
If it made a sound, could you hear it in your mind?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do sequence visualization. Now we want you to imagine a cup on a table that you accidentally knock over. What type of cup was it?
It was a red Solo cup.
What type of table?
It was like a desk.
How did the cup get knocked over?
The back of my hand.
When you knocked the cup over, did anything spill out of it?
Yes, it was a liquid. Nothing specific, just liquid.
An indeterminate liquid?
It probably was whiskey. That's what would usually be in it.
Did the sequence appear as a video in your mind or something else?
More reality.
So you just experienced it exactly how it would have been in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do you know why your mind went to the specific details it went to, or do you feel like it was random?
Oh, I think my mind went to a desk because I'm sitting behind my desk. Went to a red Solo cup because that's what we use when we're on the boat. So there's probably experiences that created that.
Did this mental image also have sound?
I don't know if it did or not, but I can do it with sound.
You could put sound in if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Now we'd like you to imagine any room at all. Can you imagine all four walls and all four corners at once?
I can look at it in like plan view, looking down on it and see all four walls, the corner of the floor.
So the best way to see it all at once is to do kind of an aerial view of it.
Yeah.
Can you zoom outside the room to imagine the entire exterior of the building?
Yeah, I can picture the If I float above the living room, and the higher I get, the more it's like taking the roof off of the house. I can see the whole floor plan, all the walls, the layout.
Okay. So can you zoom outside of the house and see the exterior of the house?
Yeah. I can see the yard. I can see, I mean, just like if you were looking at Google Earth.
Can you zoom out further to view the entire neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the entire city?
Yeah, I can see the airport. I can see downtown, the college, our neighborhood. Yeah.
Okay. And that's all very detailed, very vivid as well?
Yeah. Just like I said, looking at satellite imagery.
I mean, you say it's hard for you to wrap your mind around how I can't see anything in my mind. It's so hard for me to wrap my mind around being able to do something like that. It's just.
And I was listening to one of your episodes where you were talking with one of your friends, and you were talking about being a graphic artist. And it just blows my mind because I've seen your work. And it blows my mind that you can be a graphic artist but not be able to envision things. If somebody tells me I need you to build a table, I instantly see what type of table I would want to build that person based on how I know them. And then I can communicate with them. And by the time we're done with our conversation, I've either convinced them to let me build the table that I'm envisioning, or I envision the table that they want.
Yeah. And I think in some cases that probably would be helpful for me. I mean, I've had people before when they're describing what they want, they've said those words. I can see it in my mind. I know exactly what I want, kind of a thing. And if I could try and do that, that probably would be helpful. But, what I do in my way works really well.
So let me ask you a question. Let the interviewee become the interviewer for a second here. So if somebody were to come up to you and tell you to draw Bart Simpson, would you need a visual of Bart in order to draw it, or could you draw Bart out of your memory?
A little of both. I mean, I know what Bart Simpson looks like, so I could maybe get some general stuff like the spiky hair thing, and because I just kind of know that. But it would be way better if I had a picture of it.
If you're going to paint or pastel a picture of a rose, it would be easier if you had a rose in a vase sitting in front of you.
Yeah, for sure. And I do have a fine art background. I did a lot of fine art back in the day. And yeah, I always had to have a reference. Now, beyond the reference, I could get creative with it. Like if I had a basic reference, a picture, I wouldn't necessarily make my art look exactly like that. Like I'd get creative with the colors, do different things, but references help me a lot.
All right. Does effort play a role in how well you can visualize something?
If I've seen it before, it doesn't take much effort. If somebody's describing a piece of equipment or a scene, something like that, then I have to put some effort into it for a minute until I start comprehending it better.
In general, when you close your eyes, what do you see?
It depends on my mood. I mean, right now, if I close my eyes, I see the room I'm in. Just not even thinking about it. Just close my eyes and the room's still there. It's dark. It's like somebody turned the lights off.
Okay. And that's pretty default. Like you don't necessarily choose what that image is. You just close your eyes and it just defaults to something.
Yeah. Depending on where my head was. Yeah.
Is there always something visual going on in your mind? Does it ever turn off your visualization?
It will turn off. I can close my eyes right now and just go, okay, I just want to see black and forget about everything for a minute. I can do that.
Can you think of nothing if you want to?
No. I wish.
There's always something going on.
Yeah. Usually work related.
I'm the same way. I have such a hard time leaving work behind. Does your ability to visualize vary depending on circumstances, details, and events?
Anticipation. I saw a video years and years ago when I was going through a hunter safety program, and it talked about premature closure. And hunting accidents happen when somebody's anticipating something so much that they're sitting watching, say, a clearing, waiting for a deer to come into it. And they visualize that so hard that when a person enters that clearing, they have premature closure, and the brain tells that person that they've seen the deer that they've been imagining. And there's a lot of hunting accidents that have happened that way. They get excited and shoot, and then they find out it was their buddy that was walking into the clearing. I can understand that. I can see that because, opening day of deer hunt, I'm out there on the side of a mountain, and I know there's going to be a deer walking through here. I've seen it the year before. I've seen it this time, or it's just the perfect conditions. And I can sit there and I can visualize that. And so I think anticipation and excitement is one where it really changes my vision.
Interesting. I don't think we've ever heard that one before.
Yeah, that's a cool answer. I like that.
So when you visualize things, do you tend to visualize things you've seen before, or do you create new or novel images?
It can be both. I used to travel a lot for work, and I'd drive a lot in the Southwest, and I'd listen to books on tape. And driving through New Mexico, Arizona area, I was listening to Dead Man's Walk, which is part of the Lonesome Dove series. I was driving through the areas that the book took place, and I could visualize the characters in the book out on the plains on the side of the highway as I'm driving in the landscape, building in my mind as I drove through that area. The book played out visually for me as I was driving through.
Could you visualize to the extent that it completely takes you out of reality?
I can fantasize pretty good. I can put myself in a race car, say, and feel it taking turns at a high rate of speed or action, things like that. I can visualize really, really well.
All right. When it comes to mind visualization on a scale from 1 to 10, how much is it like actual seeing?
It's up there. I mean, it's 9.5, 10. It's pretty real.
So I want you to start out by imagining an orange on a shiny plate.
Okay.
Describe in as much detail as you can what you see in your mind's eye.
So the orange is intact. It's not peeled. And it's on a large, shiny silver platter that's got a contour design of different fruits, berries and small fruit to large fruit around the perimeter and smooth in the center.
Okay. Is that a plate you've seen before, or did you just create that?
I don't think I have it, so I don't know. It's just...
It sounds like a plate I want to own. You should go into designing plates. So with the shiny plate, is there a reflected illumination from the orange onto the plate?
There is now. I don't think there was before. As soon as you said that, now I see the reflection. I can see light glaring off of it. I can see what would be across the room from it.
Okay.
Light bouncing off of it, just like a mirror.
Wow. Can you add blemishes to the orange?
Yeah, I could put sunspots or where somebody's tried to peel it. I could put a rotten spot on it if it's been sitting on the plate too long.
Could you change the color of the orange, like make it purple?
Yeah. Would it still be called an orange, though?
I think so. I think there's a distinction. Can you imagine yourself becoming the same size as the orange and viewing it from that perspective?
Yeah, I can look at the pores in the orange rind get larger and more. I mean, just like looking at it through some type of magnification.
Okay. That one's hard for me. I'm not sure I can do that one. Could you imagine going into the orange, traveling through its skin?
Yeah.
What's that like?
So it'd be, the outside of the orange is a very thin layer of orange, and you get into the rind that's a little thicker. I like a orange that has a thick rind on it, easy to peel. And so I'm envisioning passing through that thicker rind into the segments of the orange itself, through that membrane, through the skin, through the center of the orange, into the next segment and out the other side. Not much different than really what we talked about with the house, being able to zoom out and see the house and then the yard and then the neighborhood and then the city, kind of the same thing.
When you're just thinking about things, say you're thinking about work and like, oh, what am I going to do about this situation? You're having those thoughts in your head. Are any of those audible? Can you ever hear your thoughts in that way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can.
So when it comes to mind audio on a scale from 1 to 10, how much is it like actual hearing?
It's another high number. It's a 9.5, 10.
All right. I want you to imagine two people that you are very close to. One a man and the other a woman.
Okay.
Now, I want you to take that man and I want you to imagine him saying, "Be careful, there's a storm coming."
Okay.
Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine the man saying that again, but this time have him say it in the woman's voice. Can you do that?
He looks pretty funny, but yeah, I can.
Okay. Imagine someone you were close to that has been deceased for several years. Can you still hear their voice in your mind?
Yeah, I can. I'm trying multiple people. One passed away when I was 5. I can't hear his voice because I probably don't remember what he sounded like. But a friend of mine that passed away 10 years ago, I can hear his voice. I know what he sounds like.
Now imagine a chocolate chip cookie in your mind. Can you smell it in your mind?
I know what it smells like. I can't physically smell it, but here's that word, imagine what it smells like.
Okay. If you could put it on a scale from 1 to 10, how much would it be like actual smelling?
That one's not as high because I can't actually smell it. I just know what it smells like. So that would be a very low number, probably more like 3 or a 4.
Back to the cookie. Could you taste it in your mind?
Definitely taste it. The
Okay.
taste is better than the smell.
What about that one on a scale from 1 to 10?
You're probably more like a 7 or 8.
Okay.
Imagine eating a ripe cantaloupe. Can you taste it?
I can taste it.
Can you imagine changing its taste by adding salt?
Yes.
Now imagine eating an unripe cantaloupe. Can you taste the difference?
More of a texture difference. It's crunchier because it's not ripe. I don't know that I've ever eaten unripe. I can imagine what it would taste like.
Okay.
But it turns it more to a honeydew.
Yeah, it's not as good.
Okay.
Needs a lot more salt.
If you taste a variety pack of lifesavers in your mind, can you taste each flavor individually?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you imagine tasting 2 different flavors at the same time, like a banana and chocolate?
It just turns into a chocolate-covered banana from Disneyland.
Okay. That's what your visual went to?
That's my visual and my flavor.
And your flavor.
Yeah,
okay.
and my taste, yep. Both went to Disneyland, frozen chocolate-covered banana.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Right over by this Small World. That's where they sell it.
I'll have to try it next time I never go to Disneyland.
All right. What about 2 flavors that don't go together so well, like ketchup and ice cream?
Unfortunately, I can't taste it. It's like when people talk about ice cream and chili. Some people eat that. It's like I know what that's going to taste like, and I don't even want to try it.
Wait. People have chili and ice cream?
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like an abomination.
So you say that you can taste it, but you don't want to try it.
So do you think whatever you're imagining it would taste like would be pretty accurate to what it actually tastes like?
Yeah, because I can take the taste of vanilla ice cream and mix it with chili or ice cream and ketchup or whatever, and I know what the two taste like. And if you put them together, they're not going to marry. I love to cook, like I said earlier, and before I ever add anything to the dish, I know what it's going to taste like. And I catch myself. I watch a lot of cooking shows, and they're always taste, taste, taste. Taste as you go. Make sure you taste. I don't taste as I go. I make a dish, and then I taste it at the very end, and it tastes like what I imagine it was going to taste like.
Okay, so that just sparked another question in my mind. When you're watching a cooking show, can you taste the food that they're cooking?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh wow. See, when I watch them and they're all tasting and talk about it, like I have no idea what they're even talking about.
And it depends on the cooking show too, because sometimes that food sits there for quite a while before they do the judging at the end of the show.
Right. And
so I'm not only tasting what the flavor is, but how it's affected by the temperature because it sat and got cold. You don't eat a cold poached egg with hollandaise sauce over it.
Kary discovered the flaws of reality TV in his mind.
Oh, that is so cool. Can tasting food in your mind satisfy a craving or a desire for food?
If I'm craving a food item and I imagine tasting it, does that craving go away? It probably enhances the craving.
Okay.
So I make the craving stronger.
Okay. We're going to throw it back to the cookie real fast for one last question about the cookie. If you were to feel the cookie with your hands or mouth, can you touch it in your mind?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. How about that one on a scale from 1 to 10?
A 10. It was a gooey cookie. I love my cookies undercooked, so it was a nice, gooey, warm chocolate chip cookie.
So I want you to imagine yourself typing on a keyboard. Can you feel the space in between the keys?
Yes, I can.
Can you feel the pressure and weight of each key as you press down on it?
Yes.
Can you feel the texture of each key?
I can. I've got two keyboards in front of me, two different computers. One of them has a textured pattern on the key, and the other one is completely smooth, and I can feel the difference just thinking about each keyboard.
Awesome. Can you feel the temperature of each key?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want you to imagine that the keyboard suddenly becomes furry. Can you feel it?
It's pretty furry.
Okay. Can you describe that?
It's a like a long-haired soft cat, but pink.
It's pink.
I don't know why it's pink, but it's pink.
All right. Can you feel each individual hair if you were to move your hand across the keyboard?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to do one more weird thing. Imagine that the keyboard is suddenly made of Jell-O.
Okay.
Can you feel that?
Oh, yeah.
And describe that?
Yeah, it's just I can sense that I can feel the surface of the Jell-O as if you're just jiggling it with your fingertips, but I can also imagine and feel the sense of if I push too hard, my fingers breaking the skin and going down into the Jell-O.
So imagine that you grow an extra finger out of your hand.
Okay.
Can you feel it in the same way you can feel your other fingers?
I can feel the sensation of touch, both that finger touching, say, the palm of my other hand or the palm of its own hand, and I can feel the sensation of that finger moving. Yeah, I can feel it. And I can put it in different areas. I can put that finger in the center. I could put it out to the outside, like it's a second pinky, yeah.
The fun one is, I've played around with this a lot, being part of this. The fun one is making it grow out of another finger and feeling what that feels like.
Okay. I haven't thought about that one, but all right. That one's different.
Yeah, it's very different.
Okay. Now imagine that you stub your toe. Can you feel the pain?
Oh, yeah, I do it enough for real that I can definitely feel that one.
Okay. Now imagine that someone else stubs their toe. Can you feel the pain on their behalf?
Yes, I get a lot of finger injuries here at the mine, and that's one of my least favorite injuries to deal with personally. Fingers and toes hurt more than anything, and so when somebody smashes a finger, I feel their pain. I know exactly what they're feeling, and I can sense that pain.
Okay. These questions have really changed my perception about things. Right? Like, because you hear stuff like that, oh, I feel your pain. Or, even when like somebody will do something, I'll react like, oh, that must hurt or whatever. But I don't feel it. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
See, this is why those videos of people having like motorcycle accidents are especially like so.
Yeah, I don't watch them. I used to be able to watch them. I can't. I see somebody crashing on a skateboard and straddling a handrail or something. It's not funny. People sit and laugh and laugh and laugh. And to me, it's not funny.
It hurts, man. It hurts my senses.
Yep.
All right. I laugh. I think it's funny.
I still think it's funny.
In this episode, we will be referring to what we call the nature picture. If you would like to view the nature picture to play along and better understand what we're talking about, you can find it on shanesbraindomain.com in the Aphantasia and Beyond section. If you are unable to take a look at the nature picture, it is a picture of a grove of tall trees with the sun shining brightly through the trees. There is a blue camping chair next to a peaceful flowing river with a campfire nearby.
Do you have the nature picture we sent you?
I do.
All right. So I want you to look at that picture, and I want you to see if you can put yourself in that picture. Can you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Can you see yourself there, or is it more like you are there?
I can do either. I can see myself third person, or I can be in the first person.
Okay. Does the quality of the image change at all depending on which one you do?
No, just the perception of the image. So in first person, if I'm sitting in the chair, I'm looking at the brook and I have a fishing pole leaned up to the tree stump. I can smell the fire. I can sense the heat from the fire as the breeze changes towards me or away from me. I can feel the warmth of the sun on my back.
Man, not only is he sensing it, he's adding details.
Yeah.
Making it his own. I really like that, actually. Okay. Can you walk around and explore the area?
Yeah, I can walk back through the trees, see what's in the clearing on the other side.
You did say you could experience the campfire, feel its warmth. Can you smell it?
Yes, I can smell it.
Okay. So that seems to have brought out that smell for you a little bit more, because you said with the cookie you couldn't smell it super well.
Now that I think about that, I could smell that cookie baking, but just having it sitting on a plate, I didn't smell it.
Okay, so it seems very context dependent there.
Yeah.
Can you experience the chair in your mind? Can you feel it underneath you, feel the fabric, the weight, all of that?
Yeah, I'm definitely sitting in the chair, relaxed.
So finally, for those other senses, out of those all five senses, which one do you think is most prominent or powerful in your mind? Could you rank them in order?
So sight, hearing, touch, taste, and then probably smell. But the taste and smell kind of go back and forth or kind of go hand in hand. So it depends on if I'm thinking about the nature scene. It's probably actually a little bit smell is stronger because of the fire, the smell of the fire.
We didn't have a lot of things to taste in the nature picture, did we?
I could taste a hot dog. I could add a hot dog to that picture and taste that.
We're adding details again. I like it.
Did we talk about the river at all? Can you hear the river or play in the river?
I can definitely hear the river.
Hey, fill the world with good vibes and positivity with our new Soul Relief brand t-shirts. Check it out at shanesbraindomain.com. All right, we're going to talk about reading. When you read a novel, is it like a movie in your mind or something else?
So growing up, I grew up dyslexic and old enough that they didn't know a lot about dyslexia. And so they didn't know how to teach you to overcome it. And so it wasn't until I got into production and fabrication business that I realized that I was transposing numbers and letters. And dyslexia, to my understanding, a lot of people either transpose numbers or they transpose letters. I transpose both. So when I fabricate a piece of iron for a steel building, I'd have to put a piece mark on it. And the piece mark was the drawing number and the alphabet character. So like 103A. And I might change that in write 130A. And then the person that got that piece of material out on the floor to do the next steps, they're looking for drawing 130 when it was supposed to be 103. And it was the wrong piece. It was the wrong size. And that's when I figured out what I was doing. So that being said, it was very hard, very difficult for me to read. And I learned after I figured out that I had dyslexia and what it was, I learned that I had to take my time. So when I read a novel, and I still do this, I can read technical data very easily. But if I'm reading a story, if it's a new book, or a story I have not heard, I read the novel first to make sure I know what I'm doing. Second time for fluidity, and the third time for the enjoyment and the story. And so the third time I can put it into a movie. The first two times I'm struggling a little bit. I'm thinking too hard. I'm concentrating too hard on the action I am doing instead of the story it is telling.
Okay. So that sounds like a lot of work. Do you like reading?
I didn't like reading for a long, long time. The funny thing is I can tell a story. And I never realized until about the time I met you, actually, that I could write a story. And
okay.
I could write poetry and I could write stories. And I had a hard time with some of the spelling at first, but obviously technology has really helped out with that. My spelling's gotten a lot better because of automatic spell check and things like that. So it's helped out a lot. And it's helped me grow in my professional career as well by getting through some of those challenges. So I enjoy reading now. I really enjoy reading history, which I hated history in high school, but I love history now because history in high school, it was just memorization of dates and the events associated with those dates and somebody's name. It didn't tell a story, but you look at what the stories in history are, and they're phenomenal. So yes, I enjoy reading. I do have to work harder than most people.
So when you're having that more enjoyable experience after you've managed the material, how well can you visualize the characters and the surroundings?
It's a movie.
Okay.
It's a movie that plays out in my head that I can walk into. I could walk into the movie at times, take part in it. Just like I was saying with listening to books on tape, driving through the deserts of the Southwest and
right,
book playing out around me.
What about the sounds? Do you hear the sounds and the voices in your mind as well?
Yes. And so I'll be very disappointed if I read a book and I get a stereotype of what the character looks like and what they sound like, and then they put the wrong actor in that spot for the movie. Yeah, it can be very disappointing because I've already got a preconceived idea of what that character should look like and sound like.
Well, you talked about audiobooks. Do you like audiobooks better than reading? Sounds like it would be easier for you.
I've gotten away from audiobooks and gone more to podcasts. It is easier, and I enjoy audiobooks when I'm driving. I enjoy podcasts when I'm driving. We listen to podcasts when we drive to and from the lake because it's about a 3.5, 4 hour drive. And we listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, and I can visualize the crime scenes. I can visualize the areas that they're looking for individuals, looking for a suspect or looking for the victim. I can visualize what the victim would be looking like before and after the crime was committed. If it's been a long time, I can visualize the remains of the victim. So it can get very detailed.
Wow. Do you like visualizing that stuff?
I don't mind it because I can control it.
Okay.
I don't have to get real graphic. So the one thing I don't like, people post things on Facebook, and I've posted injuries on Facebook before, but nothing overly serious, but you'll get somebody that'll post an amputation or a leg laying wide open or body parts falling off and stuff. And I don't want to see that. During the Gulf War, we had a bunch of hostages that were taken, and there was a video going around of the decapitation of those hostages. And somebody I worked with sent me that video. Now, I didn't know what the attachment was. I clicked on it and it opened up, and it was one of those instances where you can't turn away. And I got very angry at the person for sending me that video. And don't send me stuff like that. I do not want to see that. I do not want to see things that are that real and that gross and that traumatic. And it took years to get that image out of my head. That video haunted me. It haunted me when I'd go to sleep, I'd see it.
Okay. You said, though, that during the true crime stuff, you have control over it. But at other times you don't. Other times it'll just...
If I see the actual crime scene photos, it might trigger something. It might haunt me. But if I'm just being told what it was, there was a body laying over here against the door, and there was a pool of blood, and had been shot 3 times and stabbed twice, I can control how graphic the stab wounds are. I control how graphic the entry and exit wounds of the bullets are. I can control how graphic the blood splatter on the wall or the floor. If I watch the TV show Dexter and an infant sitting in a shipping container, spoiler alert, the infant sitting in a shipping container in a puddle of blood that covers the entire floor of the shipping container and up onto the walls and stuff, I can't get that image out of my head. I mean, who wants to see a toddler in that thing, whether it's real or not?
So because of that, are you pretty careful about that kind of stuff that you get, what you watch?
I have to be. There's been a lot of shows that we've never finished.
Right. And I find it interesting, the difference between, hyperphantasia and aphantasia. I don't have it replaying in my mind, but I don't like it just because I have to watch it in real time, right? It's not that it's haunting me later. It's haunting me right now. and I don't want to see it, right?
Right.
Okay. What do you do to fall asleep?
So I used to turn on the TV and turn on MASH. I could turn on MASH, low volume, close my eyes, and visualize the entire episode. I knew what was happening. I knew what the characters were doing. I'd seen it enough. I'd had it play out in my mind. All I had to do was have the audio. And I could just shut my outside brain off and listen to the episode of MASH and go to sleep. And I'd usually fall asleep right towards the end of an episode. So it'd take me 30 minutes or so. Anymore, if I'm having struggles going to sleep, Donna will start a sleep story on an app she has. And it is soothing. It's relaxing. I don't know that I've ever made it all the way through a story. I think I usually fall asleep about halfway in. I don't know because I haven't made it, so I don't know how long they are.
As those sleep stories are going on, and I don't have a lot of experience with those, but are you visualizing what's happening? Because I feel like that would keep me awake.
Yes, I am. It's the same thing as the MASH. I've listened to those sleep stories enough that I can visualize the video along with the story or the poem or whatever it is that they're doing, and it puts me to sleep. And it's not always the story or a poem. Sometimes it's just sound. You can use that same app to listen to the ocean or listen to white noise or a fan running in the background. And sometimes just that background noise helps a lot. It doesn't create pictures in my mind as much as it does images of patterns, maybe like a kaleidoscope or a star field, or sometimes maybe a landscape or something like that may be associated. Or if I'm listening to water, maybe I could see the rain falling, the ringlets in the water where the raindrops are hitting.
Okay. So very peaceful imagery.
Yeah.
What does the phrase counting sheep mean to you?
Counting sheep, to me, it's always been the sheep jumping over the fence in a grassy field, and I just counted 1, 2, 3, 4. But the sheep have numbers on them. Yeah, the sheep actually have numbers marked on their sides.
Maybe I should try that strategy. I always lose count around 30.
Does it help you sleep?
No. I wonder why the sheep went out of order. Numbers aren't always in order.
I love those details because it feels like you're in such control of your mind, and then all of a sudden things like that happen. Okay, how vivid and detailed are your dreams?
I'll wake up wondering if they happened. I've had very vivid dreams of crashing a vehicle and sometimes somebody else's vehicle. And I wake up wondering, how am I going to take care of this? What am I going to do? How am I going to explain to this person that I just wrecked their car? And then I realized that that wasn't real. That was real. Well, a lot of times, this is the odd thing for me because it doesn't make sense with everything else the way my mind works. I'll wake up, I'll know I have had a dream, and I'll start to explain the dream to Donna, and all of a sudden the dream goes away. And it makes no sense whatsoever. And it's gone. I can't remember it.
Are your dreams in first person or third person?
Both.
Both in the same dream or like at different times?
Different dreams. I'll have a dream in third person. I think the ones that are more realistic, the ones that are more wake up and wonder what happened, why I did that, why I drove the truck off of the cliff and woke up right before I hit the bottom. Those dreams are in first person.
Are you aware of your thoughts when you're dreaming?
At times.
Okay.
I've had dreams where I know I'm dreaming and I'm trying to solve a problem or a puzzle, and it's frustrating. And I know I need to wake up to end the puzzle or the problem, but I can't wake up until it's solved. It's an internal conflict that it drives you crazy. I know I need it to end. I know I need to solve the problem to get out of it. And I just keep going in circles and I can't solve it.
That sounds really frustrating.
One in particular dream that I have a very strong fear of snakes. And I had a dream of a snake that was coiled up. And when it uncoiled, snakes swallow their food whole. When the snake started to uncoil, it started to swallow itself from the tail. And I could not envision what was going to happen when the snake was done swallowing itself. Was it going to disappear? Was it going to be inside out? Welcome to my hell.
Kary's personal hell, a snake swallowing itself.
Yes.
I'm going to send that to you. I'm going to send a picture of that to you in a Christmas card this year. Is your dream experience different from how you visualize when you're awake?
Not always. Sometimes.
In what way?
Well, most times when I visualize, unless I'm specifically visualizing something animated, I sometimes will dream in animation. And that is nothing that I've ever figured out a pattern on. I've never figured out any control on why I dream in animation sometimes. But yeah, every once in a while, animation creeps into my dream. And it's not animation like animation. It's animation like Looney Tunes. Good classic animation.
Do you look good in Looney Tunes form?
I'm usually Elmer Fudd.
Well, that answers that question. For those of you out there that think Elmer Fudd is attractive, you're wrong. That was a lovely detail.
All right. Memory. If you want to recall a memory, can you see it in your mind?
Yes.
Does it feel like you're reliving the memory or just observing it or watching it or something else?
Particular memory, me hanging out with my older brother and his friends before my brother passed away. He passed away when I was 5. He was 10, I think. And I have memories of hanging out with him, and I can visualize those memories in first or third person.
So let me ask you this. Is there a difference in the emotions or anything else when you have these memories different ways? For example, if you have that memory in first person, is it more like reliving it? Do you experience the emotions more than if you're just watching it in a third person view?
When it's in a first person, it's more like what it was, the experience, the original experience.
Do you associate your mind with an area or space?
An area big enough for a big pile of garbage.
Okay.
File folders stacked up, intertwined, falling apart. But there's enough of something showing that I know what that piece is, so I can grab that memory.
Are there different rooms or compartments in your mind?
I guess there would be. I've got technical data that I store, vacations, trips, outings, scout camps, things like that. So yeah, I definitely compartmentalize a little bit, different rooms or bins, or however you want to look at it. But I don't travel in my memory from one room to the other. Just that memory comes out from that area to the front of my memory.
What does the phrase "search your mind" mean to you? What's that like?
If I think about riding my bicycle down the hill in front of my mom and dad's house, hitting the pothole and ending up in the bed of a pickup truck, I can pull that memory out just right now. I don't have to go search for it. It just comes to me. Whatever it is, my wedding day, I can go straight to my wedding day. Remember your kids there. I remember cutting the cake in the corner of the room. It just comes to me. I don't know. I don't have to go look for it. It just all of a sudden it's there.
Hey, I remember your wedding day too. Very distant memory.
About the only thing I remember is when the DJ played "They Might Be Giants" for me.
I don't remember that
Because I was going a little bit nuts with all the country music, and so I don't know. Somebody whispered in his ear, and he got some "They Might Be Giants" on for me.
I think it was my brother-in-law, Ryan.
All right. Does how you visualize affect how you perform in your career?
I think it's the other way around. I think how I perform my career affects the way I visualize things that have to do with my career. And then I think that helps me with my execution. So I guess I go hand in hand. My performance affects my vision, but then my vision affects my performance on the outcome. Unfortunately, we had an incident 4 weeks ago, I want to say. Wednesday afternoon, we had a phone call come over to me that one of my subcontractors said a man was down. He thought the gentleman had fallen and hit in his head and was unconscious. I took off running through the mill and out to the front where the construction project was going, and I came across the supervisor and the employee that was down laying on a big steel beam, and he was assessing him and was on the phone with 911. I could visualize all the steps that needed to take place. I could visualize where the AED was, where the stretcher was, where the air breathing kit was. I could visualize where I needed to get the helicopter for life flight to land. And I was able to direct traffic. I knew where I needed people to go in the pickup truck to meet the ambulance and the highway patrol and the fire department and first responders and get them there. I could visualize that we had debris around the helicopter landing pad that we needed to make sure the helicopter was aware of to get up there. So I got lighting and I got equipment up there to take care of that, to help guide the helicopter. And then everything came together and we were actually able to save the gentleman's life, put him in a helicopter and send him to St. George. He was sent home from the hospital, I want to say about a week ago, had a pacemaker put in on Monday, and he's recovering tremendously. The direction of the traffic and getting people in the right positions and stuff, I think a lot of that has to do with how my brain works and being able to envision, see the obstacles from we're about 2.5 miles off of the highway back to the gate. And I could see the obstacles, and I'm making phone calls saying, we need to make sure that this area is clear. I called the security guard. I said, block the gate open. Don't let the gate close. I've got an ambulance coming through hot. Was able to clear employees out of the way because we have a muster point right there. When there's an emergency, everybody gathers in the same place. I didn't want people in the way of the ambulance coming through. So I was able to visualize those obstacles and take care of things. And I was able to do all that to allow the proper people to work on the patient and get the patient stable and ready for transport.
You know, you're in charge, right, of a lot of things. So it sounds like the way you visualize really does help you be successful in those things that you're in charge of.
Yes, I think so.
All right. What about school? Did you do well in school?
No, I hated school. I was a terrible student. I didn't go to school. In high school, I probably skipped more classes than I went to. And a lot of that was because of my learning disabilities and people not knowing how to help me with those. If I had have known what dyslexia was, and it got worse as I got older, because you're expected more, there's more expected of you as you get older. You're expected to be in a higher math. You're expected to read better. You're expected to do more as a student, and I couldn't. And nobody could tell me why. Nobody could help me fix it. I had a couple teachers that really helped me out in middle school, especially, and to this day, I really appreciate what they've done for me. I had a couple of really good elementary school teachers, but high school, I had one teacher that really took me under his arm, and he was a He was a drafting teacher. He taught me how to draw floor plans and houses and drawings to manufacture things from. I learned a lot from him, and I still use that skill to this day in my life. You know, it's changed a lot over the years. I use a lot more computers and stuff, but I'll still sit down and draw sketches the old-fashioned way with a piece of paper and a pencil and a ruler, and visualize very well what I'm going to do with it. And that teacher helped me a lot. But other than that, no, I was a terrible student. I hated school. I never wanted to go.
Okay, so a lot of the people that I talk to that have hyperphantasia, like you, do very well in school, and their visualization and things aid them in, you know, some of that. So with you, do you think it was just because the dyslexia was such a block that the rest of those things couldn't get through and help?
Well, I think a lot of it, because that just put me back. I mean, that let me advance in school, go from grade to grade to grade. I never got held back in the sense of moving on, but I never advanced that much through the skills. I was always going back and doing the same math. I was always going back and doing the same English or the same lessons year after year. And I think I got bored. I knew I was smarter than that. I just couldn't express I was smarter than that. And I think I got bored and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I'm not learning anything new. Why would I go back and do it again? If you're doing the same thing over and over and over and getting a result you don't like, why wouldn't you change what you're doing?
Hear that, kids? Drop out.
Yeah, college is for suckers.
All right. If you woke up tomorrow and had aphantasia, how do you think it would affect your life?
I'd probably be a train wreck. I probably wouldn't know how to function. Like I said early on in this, I don't know. I just cannot imagine having that blank slate, that blank screen, and not being able to visualize something. I don't know if it'd be any different than waking up tomorrow and being blind.
Right. And I think it really is like that, is those of us who can visualize, it becomes such an integral part of our lives. And I wouldn't say it's like an addiction. I would say it's almost a need. Like
it's a necessity. It is.
It's a necessity. Yeah. It's part of being alive now. And I don't know if any of us would be the same if our visualization changed.
Donna and I have been going to the gym a lot lately, and there's a line of TVs in front of the treadmill that we get on. And one of the shows that's always on are Superhuman. And it's these people that are amputee victims or born with a severe disability. And so it's the same question. If you are a healthy human being and you wake up tomorrow and you have nothing below the wrists, what are you going to do? But if you'd lived that way your whole life, you're going to be an amazing person. People are going to look at you and go, how does that person do that? How does that person feed themselves? How does that person dress themselves? But they've done it their whole lives. It doesn't affect them. It might slow them down a little bit, but I don't think it even slows them down that much. You know, with my son Christopher and everything he's been through, I've been around a lot of people that were born with severe birth defects. And it is absolutely incredible how well they take care of themselves and how much they can do on their own, and they don't need the assistance of others. You know, this is a little bit off subject, but I just want your listeners to know that if they see somebody that's like that, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to say, hey, you know, that you're a pretty amazing person. Tell me a little bit about your story. For so long, handicapped people were shoved into a corner, just like I was with my learning disability.
Not even a corner, an asylum.
Yeah. And, you know, we need to learn to look at the beauty of that person and what they can do.
Can you talk real quick about some of the upsides and maybe some of the downsides about how your mind works and what you experience in your mind?
The upside is being able to react, being able to take care of situations, being able to know what I need to do 5 steps from now. one of the downsides to it is my brain never shuts off. There is always something going on, whether it be music or going through problems at work. It just never shuts off. And sometimes I can control it. Sometimes I can go, okay, I don't really need to think about that. That's something that's going to be taken care of at work on Monday, but it's not an emergency right now. So I can put it out of my brain and I can start thinking about, okay, we're going to be going to the boat. We're going to be fishing. We're going to be seeing friends and stuff. But then I get excited and I can't go to sleep because it's like the day before Christmas. So.
All right. And this last question is just kind of a catch-all. If there's anything maybe we've kind of missed or a different way you want to describe it, it's if you were to try to give a general description of how your mind works and what you see in your mind's eye, how would you describe it?
Controlled chaos.
Okay.
I think that's where my mind really is controlled chaos, because I can redirect the chaos sometimes in a conscious state. If I'm in a sleep state, I can't always control it. I can sometimes, unless it's the snake eating itself.
It's my new favorite visual.
All right. That's it. Anything else you want to say before we go?
I really appreciate you guys letting me do this.
Yes. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate having you. It was a lot of fun.
Hey.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Kary.
Yep. I'll talk to you two later.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe, follow, and engage with us, and share it with your friends and family as we continue to explore this fascinating subject. For additional information about this episode or Shane's Brain, check out the show notes. Thanks for listening to the Discovering Your Mind podcast. You are beautifully unique.